Okay, admit it. Haven't we all pictured ourselves, maybe just once, strutting down a runway as the lights flash, debuting some incredible show-stopping design?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into what it really takes to make it in the exciting world of fashion design.
It's a competitive industry, and we're going to break down how to thrive, not just survive.
And we're pulling back the curtain on all those insider secrets with insights from RoleCatcher, the career platform that's changing how people navigate the fashion world.
And it's not all about sketching glamorous gowns, is it? There's so much more to it.
That's right. So let's start with the basics. What exactly does RoleCatcher have to say about what a fashion designer actually is?
Well, they define it as someone who creates original clothing designs, which makes sense, right? But the interesting part is they emphasize that it's for a really wide range of markets, so everything from those luxury brands all the way to everyday wear.
Oh, wow. So we're talking like high-end fashion shows in Milan, but then also designing like those comfy athleisure lines that everyone's obsessed with.
Exactly, a huge spectrum.
Huge. So
Wow.
that must make it kind of challenging to break into the industry.
It does. And one thing that RoleCatcher stresses is that passion alone isn't going to get you that coveted spot at Fashion Week, right?
Right.
You need this powerful mix of creativity, of course, but also these really practical skills that you might not think of right away. Like one of the most surprising things to me was they highlighted active listening.
Active listening.
Yeah, they rated it as 55% in importance for this career path.
Wow, 55%. I have to admit, that number really surprised me because, I mean, yeah, I get that you need to listen to your clients, but over half of what makes a good fashion designer. Really?
It makes sense when you think about it,
Yeah.
because it's rarely a solo thing. You're constantly collaborating
Right.
with clients to understand their vision, with manufacturers who are sourcing the perfect fabrics, with fellow designers to brainstorm new ideas. So active listening is that bridge that takes all those conversations and helps transform them into successful designs.
So it's less about being like a lone genius toiling away in your studio and more about being a team player who can really take these ideas and make them real.
Exactly.
And speaking of turning those dreams into a reality, let's talk about actually breaking into this industry.
Yeah.
Do you absolutely need like a fancy degree from a top school to become a fashion designer? What does RoleCatcher say about that?
That's a question every aspiring designer asks. And it's interesting because what RoleCatcher suggests is that while a formal education isn't necessarily mandatory, it definitely carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
They highlight all these different types of degrees, so like fashion design, textile design, even fashion marketing, as providing that solid theoretical foundation.
That makes sense. You need to start somewhere.
Right.
But then at the same time, they keep mentioning internships, almost like it's as important, if not more important, than having a degree.
Yeah, and it's almost like this two-pronged approach. So the way I see it, you've got the education that equips you with those basic principles, the technical skills, and then the internships, that's where you're plunged headfirst into like the exciting chaos of the industry. Right. So you're learning from seasoned professionals in the classroom and then immediately applying it.
It's like the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
A good foundation, but also real-world experience.
Yeah.
And speaking of showcasing your experience, one thing that RoleCatcher mentions over and over again is the importance of building a really strong portfolio. So what does that actually look like for someone who's just starting out?
They have a great two-step process.
Okay.
It's about gaining hands-on experience, first of all, so building up a strong foundation of tangible work. So they suggest things like internships again, freelance projects, even participating in design contests.
Oh, cool.
And all of these things add up to create a compelling portfolio that really showcases what you can do.
So it's almost like a resume, but instead of just listing your experience, you're showing it
Exactly.
with sequins and textiles and
Yes.
all those amazing things.
They even recommend collaborating with photographers and models so you've got these really high-quality shots of your designs.
Oh, that's smart. So you're not just like snapping a picture with your phone.
No. But it's not just about having these pretty pictures.
Okay.
It's about understanding who your target audience is.
So like if you're passionate about sustainable fashion, your portfolio should reflect that.
Precisely. You're communicating your unique style, your vision through every single piece you choose to showcase.
It really is like you're building this whole fashion story,
Right. Right.
from that initial spark of inspiration to the final product.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you've poured your heart into building an incredible portfolio. What's next? How do you actually climb that fashion ladder and launch a successful career?
Well, that's where it gets even more interesting because RoleCatcher, they've mapped out these 4 key stages of a fashion design career.
Okay.
But instead of just like listing them out, I think it's more helpful to think about how a designer's role actually evolves over time.
I like that. So, like, take us on that journey.
Okay, so picture this. You're a fresh-faced assistant designer.
Wide-eyed, so excited.
Exactly. Eager to like soak up every single drop of knowledge.
You're running around with your notepad, sketching ideas whenever inspiration strikes.
Yes. And RoleCatcher talks about how at this stage, you're assisting those more senior designers doing trend research, even helping with those initial sketches.
So it's really about mastering those fundamentals, right?
Yeah, paying your dues.
Right.
But in the best way possible because you're learning so much.
You're surrounded by these, like, fashion rock stars.
Exactly.
Okay. So then you move up. What's the next rung on the ladder?
So you transition then to a junior designer, and this is where you actually get to start flexing those creative muscles a little bit more.
So you're not just assisting, you're actually contributing to the designs themselves.
Exactly. You might be developing concepts for specific lines, maybe even overseeing some of the production process.
Oh, wow. So it's like graduating from, like, apprentice to a true artist.
Yes.
You're finding your voice in this big fashion orchestra.
Yes, exactly. And remember those active listening skills we talked about before.
Oh, yeah. Super important.
So important. They become absolutely paramount as you climb the ladder to that mid-level designer role.
Okay, so what's different there?
You're not just managing designs, now you're leading teams, you're mentoring junior designers.
Oh, wow.
You're making sure everybody is on board with the creative vision.
So you're like the conductor of the orchestra now, making sure everyone hits those high notes.
Exactly.
But I imagine at that point, there's a lot more pressure.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not just creating, you're also managing these different personalities, these expectations.
That's a whole other skill set.
Right. Making sure that everyone feels heard and respected, but also that the project is moving forward in the right direction.
And on time and within budget.
Right. And then, of course, you reach the top, the senior designer. What does that look like?
That's when it gets really exciting. You're setting the entire creative direction for collections. You're working much more closely with those executives.
Oh, okay. So big picture stuff.
Big picture, you have to make sure your designs are aligning with the overall business goals.
So it's not just about designing a dress that you think is beautiful. It's about understanding the market.
Right. Knowing who your target audience is.
Yeah. Making sure that those stunning designs translate into actual sales.
And that's why RoleCatcher really emphasizes the importance of business acumen, especially as you climb that ladder. They even quoted a senior designer description, and I thought this was really telling. Collaborating with executives, aligning design vision with business goals.
So you've got to have a head for figures and spreadsheets, but also an eye for color palettes and fabric textures.
You've got to have it all. And that's why they're constantly emphasizing this idea of continuous learning. No matter what stage of your career you're in, you can't just rest on your laurels.
They really hammer that point home, don't they?
Because it's true, the fashion world changes so quickly, the trends, the technology,
Right.
and what consumers are looking for is always evolving.
So it's about being a lifelong student, always eager to adapt and learn and evolve your craft.
Yes. And speaking of evolution, I think it's time we talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say, the algorithm on the runway.
Ooh, okay. I see where you're going with this. We're talking about artificial intelligence,
Exactly.
AI, and how it's impacting this world, this very human-centric world of fashion design, robot-designed collections.
Wow.
I mean, it really makes you wonder, is AI going to completely replace human designers?
Yeah.
Like, is that the future of fashion?
It's a question everyone's asking, you know? And it's understandable, right? Because AI is everywhere these days.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. As powerful as AI is, as much data as it can analyze, it can't replicate that spark of human creativity.
That's true.
You know, that intuition that really makes fashion so captivating.
So you're saying it's not necessarily about replacing designers. Maybe it's more about giving them these new tools to enhance what they're already doing.
Exactly. Think about it. RoleCatcher already uses AI, but to help designers navigate that job market.
Right.
So imagine AI tools that can analyze those runway trends or maybe predict which colors and fabrics are going to resonate with consumers a year, 2 years down the line.
It's like having a crystal ball.
Right. Or even AI that can generate all these design variations based on a designer's initial sketches. So maybe it takes like 5 initial ideas and gives you 20 more.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But wouldn't that mean that designers are just kind of becoming like puppets to these algorithms. Like they're just following the data and not their own instincts anymore.
See, that's where that human touch is still so important.
Right.
AI can provide all this amazing data, all these insights, but ultimately it's still up to the designer to interpret that information.
Right.
To inject their own unique vision, and then to create something that's truly original.
So it's really about using AI as a tool,
Right.
For inspiration, for efficiency.
Exactly.
But it's not dictating those creative choices.
And it frees up designers to do what they do best, which is to dream up those incredible show-stopping designs.
Which is ultimately what we all want to see, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that brings us to, I think, a really interesting question. We've talked about how AI can help designers understand the job market, even enhance their creative process. But could it actually influence fashion trends themselves?
That's a great question. And I think it's where things get really interesting.
I mean, we're talking about AI potentially shaping what we see on the runway and ultimately what we're all wearing.
Right. Imagine algorithms that are analyzing social media, street style, historical fashion data, and they can predict years in advance, what colors, what fabrics, what silhouettes are really going to capture people's attention.
That's kind of mind-blowing.
It is.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
And I think one thing's for sure, no matter how much technology influences this industry, to make it as a fashion designer, you need that special mix of creativity, savvy, and this real hunger for continuous learning.
You've got to stay curious.
Yes.
You've got to keep learning.
It's about being adaptable, being open to these new technologies, and of course, always pushing those boundaries of what's possible.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, no matter how much the world of fashion changes, that fundamental desire that we all have to express ourselves through clothing, to stand out, to make a statement,
to be unique.
Exactly. That never goes away.
That's so true.
And it's that desire that fuels all the creativity, all the innovation that makes the fashion world so exciting.
I love that. It's a great note to end on. So for all you aspiring fashionistas out there, listen up. Embrace your creativity, hone your skills, and remember that the future of fashion is waiting to be designed.